any of you that have known me for any period of time, you know that one of my favorite books of the Bible is Ecclesiastes, and specifically Ecclesiastes chapter 11. This passage, I remember it was a number of years, probably 4 or 5 years ago that I really came across it, and God began using this passage to speak to me in the way that I interacted with other people. So let me just dig into this passage and we'll see what truths we can apply to our lives and specifically the way that we communicate and relate to other people. King Solomon's writing, the richest man in that day, and he says, "Cast your bread upon the waters." And he's speaking from the mind of a merchant who's investing produce overseas and looking for a return on their investment. And he says, you're going to find it after many days. Give a portion to 7 or even to 8, for you know not what disaster may happen on earth. And so what he's saying here is that you need to diversify your portfolio, diversify your investments. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, because if you only invest in one ship and then that ship is destroyed in a storm, obviously that's bad news. But when you diversify, then you're able to see different multiple returns and see which one delivers more for you, things like that. And then he goes on, and let's pick up in verse 6. He says, then he gives the idea of a sower sowing seed. So first the merchant, then the sower. He says, in the morning sow your seed, and at evening withhold not your hand. For you do not know which will prosper, this or that, or whether both alike will be good. So he's saying two chief things here. He's saying diversify, invest lots in lots of different things. And then he also is saying here, do it at lots of different times. Do it continually, because you don't know when that investment is going to pay off. This passage, why it grips me, is not from a monetary standpoint, but from a personal, relational standpoint. Because I've taken this passage and this prompted me to look and say, how did Jesus invest in the lives of people? And as I studied the life of Jesus, and I took an entire summer just to study how Jesus poured into people, I saw how he gave to the poor. I saw how he invested in the lives of his disciples. I saw how he spoke to big crowds, how he invested in his family. Jesus was someone who diversified and invested in a multitude of different types of people. You know, here's our default as Christians sometimes. We like to invest in people that we feel comfortable investing in. So usually that ends up being one select group of people. But you know what God wants us to do? He wants us to diversify and invest in lots of different places. And here's what I found over the years. When I do this, it's amazing where the rewards come from. I'll invest in a person that maybe ordinarily I wouldn't have thought to invest in, but that person grows up and becomes a person of God. You see, as people, we're tempted to prejudge others. We're tempted to just say, well, this person can never make it, so I don't know if I want to invest my time in them. But you know what? That's not the way God sees people. God looks at every person as valuable. So I want you just to think this week. Imagine if every relationship you had this week, every encounter you had with a person, you ask yourself one simple question. How can I invest something positive in the life of this person? And I've watched and I can testify that if you do this numbers of times with people, those investments begin to pay off in incredibly beneficial and rewarding ways.